Welcome to mission debriefing. We'll go through the scenario step by step. First, let's check the end state. The Germans lost 24 men killed, 10 wounded, 1 tank lost, and 5 armored vehicles lost, mostly martyrs. These are quite unacceptable figures. The Syrians lost 165 men killed, 71 men wounded, 9 men missing as in captured, 16 armored vehicles lost, and 1 other vehicle lost, which is probably an UAC car. High losses too, but not uncommon in Shock Force 2. The Germans failed in all their objectives. The Syrians were successful in inflicting casualties on the Germans. Now let's review the map. The Bundeswehr task force got a good toehold of the eastern part of the terminal complex and the secondary structures. And here the corner of the main terminal building. There were still plenty of Syrian troops inside. These guys managed to nail 3 martyrs, quite heroic. Though they got a bit lucky as one of the martyrs shut the wall down. They were unfazed and continued to shoot with their RPG and got to 2 of these that came up front in the end. It was a good call calling in the airburst artillery on the control tower. The forward observer section was there and they took cover and some losses. They went down to the ground floor of the terminal. A Company HQ has been completely destroyed. B Company HQ is nearby. Rattled but still operational. Only a part of a command squad remains in the eastern side. '83 teams completely destroyed. Most of the resistance is on the western side and in the terminal. We pretty much bypassed these 2 bigger complexes. Here's the tornado dropping a GBU on this building. 2 to 3 squads saved by the bell, really. I don't know how it would have affected the scenario. Could the Syrian morale have crumbled after this one? And I would have gotten a win. Perhaps, perhaps not. A vehicle grew in the center of the field. This is the infantry team that got the Leopard 2 with a side shot. I don't believe there were any triggers in this scenario. This is a Shock Force 1 scenario, but Shock Force 2 has these triggers that when, for instance, the Germans reach this line, the Syrians here could have been triggered to come up and shoot to the rear, but seems like this squad hasn't done really anything in this scenario. They've just been guarding the front of the courtyard here. They had a good keyhole position straight to the side of the mortar. This was an authentic and unscripted playthrough with real fog of war and tactical dilemmas. I had only played All Flights Are Delayed briefly in 2014. The armored vehicles and support fires really inflicted great casualties on the Syrian defenders. Yet it wasn't enough. The main road wasn't even mined, though it's a risky avenue of advance anyway, since it's pretty much sandwiched between these 2- and 3-story houses that had plenty of anti-tank defenders waiting in ambush. The Syrians played a bit of a ruse with the mine placing. So that's pretty much the end state of this mission, where the attackers and defenders were when the clock ticked down. If there's something you want to see, then ask, I can check it. Now we shall go through the plan phase by phase and review some mistakes. The first phase was to capture this bigger compound for observation and secure it from the enemy so that I wouldn't have to deal with any fire coming from there. That was done with a loss of 4 soldiers, and already that was a bad start. Then I had the plan of using the vehicles on the berm with shoot and scoot tactics, firing at any enemy vehicles or targets of opportunity, and that worked really well. Then the most important part of the plan was to use the indirect fires to flatten any enemy positions that I was going to go through in my plan. The avenue of advance was to come through the middle and then to the terminal. I used the artillery here. It was a long barrage, perhaps a bit too long considering it now, but it was still a good one since all of the enemy in here was destroyed and I took the compound quite easily. Used some smoke to disembark, had overwatch, everything was going fine. Then the Leopard got ambushed from the right. The overwatch didn't catch it or wasn't in position. Then Syrian infantry team started firing their RPGs long range into these buildings. Again I took some losses. The tanks didn't react, perhaps this berm was in the way. Then I should have pretty much flattened the building. The preliminary artillery was going mainly towards infantry markers. Especially positions that I expected to be optimal for ATGMs. This house was destroyed. There was a PKM machine gun. Also this floor caved in. There was a platoon HQ. I did use artillery into this building. It lost a few floors, but there was no enemy presence. Also I flattened this sort of with a rolling barrage. But I should have continued it to the main house. I was hell-bent on taking it and then using it for a firebase, but really, if it would have been rubble, the awesome firepower of the mechanized force would have come to better use as they could have fired over into the terminal and to the side. The Pioneer platoon did a really good job with their left flank, and that could have actually been a good main plan. Fix the enemy with vehicles, use their firepower to suppress and destroy anything in the terminal, and use 2 to 3 infantry platoons to flank them, or even bring down some walls and rapidly advance to the rear and disembark the infantry squads and assault the terminal. But I went from the center, used smoke, used some artillery. The smoke dissipated faster than I thought. Perhaps that was one of the main problems in my attack, that I wasn't always quick enough. I was walking around in the complex and getting into the vehicles in a relaxed manner, when I should have used speed. When their first platoon was here, used the third to come forward right away instead of having the first platoon mount their vehicles and then they were the ones to come. There's a reason why in the military you're in a hurry to wait, because it's always preferable to be waiting idle than to be called into action while you're still on the move. So heavy artillery here bring down the whole house. There was a lot of enemy presence. Would have made the attack a lot easier. 10 drop a GPU or two to the front of the terminal and either come with the smoke tactic or flank from the left. So in summary, the ingress was good. I was using cover, shoot and scoot tactics, artillery to soften up the places where I was going. But then I deterred, started using too little artillery to places that didn't really matter. I was trying to save the terminal building for future use, but it was so loaded up with enemy activity that there just isn't a feasible action to take it without great losses. So support fires are your best friend in this mission. Know where you're going, flatten it, then use the infantry to clear any small resistance that remains. I also did many goofs and mistakes here. Some dismounting shenanigans here. I ordered a move order, reverse order to this mortar. And at the same time a pause and ordered the infantry to move inside the building. But in combat mission, if the vehicle has a move order and the dismount button hasn't been pressed, the infantry will stay inside until the vehicle's move order is done. The tank showed its rear. That was a command mistake from me. A lot of the military leadership literature and courses I've read and done are surprisingly concentrated on knowing yourself. I could say that I trip to the same problems I often have. Not enough use of fire resources. Being a bit too kind on the enemy. Believing that things will go alright with the way I'm doing it instead of using massive overkill and unfair tactics. Please comment your views on the scenario and how you would have done it and how you found the plan I had. Also, it's been delightful to see all the likes and subscribes along the way. Makes me feel like the dozens of hours of work are worthwhile and the videos are appreciated. Thank you for being on this journey. I've got a few scenarios coming up. One for Shock Force, a similar CQB hell with RPGs in every other window. And also a Black Sea scenario. I've converted the map there and drawn up some plans how the scenarios should go and thought about the force compositions. Lately I've been splitting my time between combat mission and learning to fly in DCS. DCS has a nice Syria map, so I'll try to take a look if there's a possibility to combine these two games in the mission editors. Sounds like an exciting opportunity to me. That's it for Aleppo International. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the content and welcome back anytime.